Hello, I'm Peyvand and welcome to this introduction to puppetry video with Jackson's Lane. I'm an actor and puppeteer and performance maker of all kinds, and you can see more about what I do in the video description below via my website and social media. I've worked on all kinds of puppets, from big outdoor puppets to smaller tabletop and rod puppets to glove puppets, and I can tell you as someone with experience that every puppet I meet is different, and I go through the same process of getting to know them. And that's what we're going to do in this video, but with everyday household objects, something called object puppetry, or found object puppetry, or junk puppetry, or object manipulation. There's lots of words for it, but it's all the same, really. I mean, puppetry is giving the illusion that an object, that's something that's not alive, that doesn't move by itself, is moving by itself. And that's all it is. So over the next few minutes, I'm going to be throwing lots of different things at you. So don't worry if it's all a bit much for one go. You can pause and come back to things. And really, you can spend a lot of time learning the basics. So this is just to give you some inspiration and some introductions to maybe looking at things that are in your everyday life a little bit differently. But before we get our hands on anything, we're going to do a warm-up. I often find that working with people that are new to puppetry, that although we're not necessarily doing any heavy lifting or anything that seems really physical, we're still using muscles in ways that we don't normally use them. They often get aches and pains in their fingers and wrists, or find that their shoulders get really tense. So feel free to follow along to this warm-up, and if you want to pause it and go back to it and do it again until you feel ready, that's also fine. now you're warmed up, you're ready to start playing with objects. So I'm using a plastic bag, but you can use whatever you like, piece of paper, whatever you've got to hand. The process is the same. First, you just get to know your object. Is it hard? Is it soft? Is it heavy, light? Is it stretchy? Does it have joints? What are the kinds of shapes does it make? Does it make a noise when you move it? What does it want to do? What does it not want to do? And have a go at playing with or against those things. How far can you take it or not? And as you start playing around and looking at this object that's now becoming your puppet, you'll start to find preference for certain shapes that you can make with it and what characters you might come up with.
Now that you're starting to think about puppeteering rather than just handling, think about how you're holding your object. You don't want your hands to be too visible. So have the lightest touch you can, but you still want control. Next, we need to give the illusion of breath. We do it all the time without even thinking. And so to give that same impression to your object, we just breathe ourselves. If you're holding the object still and it does nothing, then it looks dead to an audience. So it's really important to keep that breath. And all you're doing is taking a deep breath in and out and letting that translate through your arm to your puppet. And it doesn't have to be big. It just needs to be constant. Next up is focus. Now this sounds really obvious, but if you're not looking at your puppet and giving it focus, we're not going to be either. The other part of focus is where your puppet's focus is, where their brain or eyes are, where each thought comes from. And if you've got another pair of eyes, it's really useful for them to give you feedback on if it looks like the puppet is looking at them or if it's clear where their thoughts are coming from. So here's me trying to get my puppet to look down the camera lens. You can play around with reactions to what your puppet is seeing. Now you will have started to do this already, but we want to think carefully about movement. Make some decisions about how your puppet moves. Do they bounce? Are they really light? Is there a weight to them? How does gravity affect them? What are they moving through? Is it air or water? It can be whatever you like, but just set the rules for yourself and make it consistent. How does it fit the character that you've come up with? And once you've done that, you're ready to start applying these really basic principles to any other objects you have lying around. So go grab those now. Have fun playing around with objects. You can also combine objects too. So here's me with a little teacup because I thought it made a good nose and a head if it's turned upside down, and a tea towel which I've clipped some clips on the corners as hands and feet, or you can tie knots. And just find different ways that you can connect them together and move them and see what characters come out. I'd love to see what you're up to, as would Jackson's Lane, so please post your comments and questions in response to this video. Find me on social media, send me pictures and videos of all your different creations, and most of all, just have fun looking at everyday objects a little bit differently.